Hey, Good Success community, Josh Culler here, host of the Good Success podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. But before we get into this awesome episode of the Good Success podcast, we'd like to take a quick minute and thank our sponsors. And first is Sharper Business Solutions and our good friend Gary Harper. And listen, your business is a personal endeavor that you have poured your blood, sweat, and tears into. Sharper Business Solutions is a full-service solution to help you scale your dream. Sharper Business Solutions implements the Sharper process and other key systems, giving you the confidence and freedom to keep growing and scaling as a company. The Sharper team wants to come alongside you and provide the resources needed for long-term growth and success. Schedule your free consultation today at sharperprocess.com. And let me tell you, these guys are amazing. A lot of our mastermind members have hired Gary and the Sharper team to come and implement EOS and processes and systems into their business, and their scaling is very, very much apparent, and they've grown exponentially. So make sure you guys check them out one more time. That's sharperprocess.com. And we'd like to say a quick thank you to Veterans Path Up and our good friend Ken Lacey. And Veterans Path Up's mission is to provide affordable, stable housing to veterans and veteran families through the use of shared living, single-family residences, and ultimately a path to home ownership. Their emphasis is to provide housing for homeless, working, and disabled veterans, many of whom do not qualify for long-term support from any government agency. Veterans Path Up ascribes to the philosophy of helping those with a hand up as opposed to a hand out. Veterans Path Up provides a critical link to the veteran by bridging the gap to other supportive veteran services. This is accomplished through education and awareness to available support, with the ultimate goal of getting the veteran and family on a path to self-sufficiency. Through the use of private and philanthropic funding, Veterans Path Up acquires, rehabs, and places veterans into the appropriate housing for where they are with respect to their current financial picture. Improving neighborhood housing and showing veterans a path up strengthens the community and strengthens the country while helping those who have protected our freedom. You can visit veteranspathup.org to make a donation or find out how you can help impact our veterans even further. So without further ado, let's take a quick sneak peek of what you'll hear on this episode of the Good Success podcast.
How could I educate and teach other people to be successful? In turn, gives me success. Because the more education I could provide to people, it turns around and gives me a tenfold versus me trying to sell somebody. So I've learned that providing education is more of a key factor than trying to sell somebody on a product.
Welcome back to the Good Success Podcast. I am your host, Josh Culler. I got Tom Olson, president of Good Success, sitting right here next to me.
That's me.
Tom, what's going on? How was your Christmas?
I had a great Christmas, and something that probably the most enjoyable time we had, Josh, was because of Hope and Strength, your nonprofit. We actually went out with the kids and gave out goodie bags to the homeless in Chicago, and gave about 50 pairs of pants and 50 sweaters out to people, and they really enjoyed it. And it was really good to see the kids, have that. That Christmas morning, you open up your own presents, and like right after that, we went out and got to help the homeless. It was a really good feeling, and I think it also helped the kids kind of open up their minds to that whole world. So it was really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear. And I think God blessed us with some good weather on
yes,
Christmas
it was like
Day.
50 degrees.
Yeah.
So
the first year we did it, it was 10
Chicago.
degrees in Chicago.
Yeah.
And it was not nice. Like it was cold.
It was a good day.
So anyway, so we got our good friend Jerry Padilla on the show
Jerry?
today. Jerry, what's going on, my friend?
Nothing much, just here on a good old Friday, working along the way. So
That's awesome stuff. So Jerry is a senior loan originator with Prime Lending, and he's been in the industry for over 11 years in the mortgage industry. And then he is out of Penfield, New York, which is right outside of Rochester. And is it Rochester or Rochester? You're in
Rochester.
New York too.
Rochester.
Okay, got it. Okay, I was good.
It is.
I've heard
It
it
is
said both
Rochester.
ways, so I don't know which one's accurate. But
Rochester was wrong.
Rochester's wrong. So if you say Rochester, you're wrong. And then Jerry has been a Good Success Mastermind member since February of 2017. So his year anniversary is coming up next month. So we're excited about that. And he's already let us know that he's going to be sticking with us for another year. So we're excited about that. And then he is also one of our first sponsors of the Good Success podcast, which you guys just opened up with the introduction, and you heard the sponsorships before. So Jerry, we appreciate you doing that with you and Prime Lending.
It's my honor to be part of the team as a sponsor. So Good Success is a great organization, so I'm honored to be part of it.
Great stuff. So before we get into it, if you guys haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to the Good Success podcast. We're on all the podcast platforms. Just go search for Good Success and you'll find us there. And one thing, so Tom, I haven't really unleashed it yet because we're still working out a little bit of kinks, but we got some show notes coming out pretty soon. Mm-hmm. And we have mobile apps coming out soon for Good Success. So you won't even have to mobile apps. You won't even have to go to like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Just go to like the App Store, search Good Success, and you'll be able to listen to all the podcasts there and keep up with us on that. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to be unveiling that pretty soon. We already have the Android app out right now, working on the Apple app, and
I gotta have to have Apple in order.
Yeah, no, yeah, we have to do it. I mean, it's just nature because I'm an Android guy, and it was just easier for it to get published that way. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but but be on the lookout for that. So we got show notes coming out, the app coming out, and just some exciting stuff for the Good Success podcast. You guys have been amazing, an amazing community, and we thank you for the growth that we're seeing. This is one of the first episodes of 2019, so we much appreciate all the support that we got in the past couple years, but in 2018 when we kind of hockey sticked in 2018 with the growth of the podcast. So we're excited about that. We want to thank you guys for sticking with us and being an awesome community. So the quote for today is, keep it 100 and invest in your relationships like you do in real estate. And that's by Gerald Hennessy. Episode, I put EP and I didn't even put the number here, but it was like episode 144 or something like that. I think it was either 144 or 145. So it was one of the most recent episodes. So, but you guys go look out for that podcast. If you didn't listen to that, that was an awesome show. Gerald's out of Seattle, Washington, and does a lot of virtual wholesaling. So he taught about that.
That's really important, Josh. Honestly, it really is. So, so many times I talk to wholesalers, I talk to other people in real estate, and they don't value the relationship as much as they value just like one deal. And, we've learned, working with Jerry and working with other lenders like Jerry, like just having the one or two key lenders that we work with makes all the difference in the world. I would much rather work with two guys that I really want to do deals with instead of like working with 60 other different lenders around the country, so just to kind of put that in perspective with Jerry and lending. But same thing with your buyers. Like, think about it. I would probably rather sell to like 10 buyers and sell all my properties to those 10 buyers than to have 600 buyers and try to figure out how to sell to every single one of them. And it's you have to value those relationships. Relationships are so much more important than business, and I think the relationships is what will help catapult your business in the long term and keep you going in those tough times.
Love it. Thank you for expounding on that. That was good. I think he actually meant, he meant like family relationships and business relationships, and he did mention that a lot. So that's good. Awesome stuff. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you have checked out the Good Success Mastermind. Like we mentioned, Jerry is in our mastermind. He's been with us for a full year, so we're excited to have him. But if you guys want to learn more about the mastermind, go to goodsuccess.com/mastermind. Our next event is, we're recording this in late December, so our event is probably already here by now, the mastermind in February. So be on the lookout. Our dates are on the website. So the first quarter is February 4th through 8 in Dallas, Texas at Quest Trust Company's office down there. And then our second quarter is May. So I think it's May 14 through 18. Is that correct? I believe that's correct.
It's in Miami. So yes.
Yeah, and that's in Miami, Florida.
14th through 18th sounds about right. It's a Tuesday. Actually a little
Tuesday
weird week. This time it's going to be a Tuesday through Saturday.
Right.
So I could just look up real fast.
We're just going to stall right here.
Yeah, we're just going to get it. We're going to get it down right now. So May 14th through 18th. Yes, sir.
I got it. So
14th, awesome. 15th, and 16th, or 16th, 17th, and 18th will be the mastermind spot.
Yes, sir. Or if you're a mastermind member, you could do like Alex Logovoy is doing and stay the entire week.
Yeah.
So, you could do that. Jerry, I know you have plenty of time on your hands, so we'll see you in May the entire week. So But anyway, you guys can learn more about the mastermind at goodsuccess.com/mastermind. Fill out the application there and you'll talk to either myself or Tom. Great group of people that we have in the room. You're going to get to hear Jerry speak, and we've had tons of other of our mastermind members on the show. So you guys, like Jerry's a quintessential person that we want in the group, the type of culture that we have there. So very excited about that, and make sure you check it out one more time, goodsuccess.com/mastermind. And then the Community Go-Giver event is in June 26, 27, 28. We're excited about this. We have a lot of details to unveil very soon, so be on the lookout for those. But early bird pricing is going to be going away very soon, so we're actually going to be getting together with the marketing and making sure that we're like pushing out for the final round of the early bird price tickets, and then we're going to go up to the normal price tickets. So you guys save a couple $100. We have some awesome speakers coming in. Tom, we're getting a little bit closer and closer to this, so do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Just order your tickets.
Just get them.
Seriously. Like, just stop it. Stop all of this.
Don't procrastinate.
Procrastination. Don't wait to the last minute. Get it done. I'm very passionate about this particular event because it kind of talks about my vision for flipping the city of Gary and how you can do the same thing in your neighborhood, or you can kind of help us with our vision to flip the city of Gary, Indiana. But things are already happening right now in Gary, and I'm so excited about what's happening in Gary, Indiana right now. So all the jobs that have just been announced in the last 6 months, we have even the presidential campaign. Some of those people have come to the Northwest Indiana. The governor's been here several times. The mayor is working really hard on some of her initiatives for the city of Gary, and it's happening. That's all I can say. Flipping the city of Gary is happening right now. If you want to come be a part of it or see what's happening, come see us at the Community Go-Giver event.
Absolutely. And to get those early bird price tickets, they're not going to last very long. Go to communitygogiver.com. And you can find out more. We have a couple of videos and whatnot. And then all the speaker lineups are going to be coming out very soon. So be on the lookout for that. I know we have some that were at our July event for 2018 that are going to be returning. So Jim Ingersoll, Jeffrey Taylor, who else is going to be? Ken Lacey. And then who else is returning? Is that it?
Quest IRA will be there.
Quest will be there.
Jeff Johnson from our mastermind will be there.
So some new faces.
Aaron Chapman will be there. Linda Lipitori will be there. So some great speakers.
So one more time, communitygogiver.com is where you can get those tickets. Make sure you take advantage of that. Save a couple $100. All right, let's go ahead and get into this podcast interview today. Jerry, we are excited to have you on the show today. Good friend of ours. We have learned a lot about Jerry, not just about prime lending in his section of that business there, but just about Jerry in general. And he has a great personality, a great story. And we're going to get into a couple of these things, not business related, because it's funny when I get on the phone with some of these guys about the mastermind, that they filled out the application and whatnot. A lot of times I use Jerry as an example because they'll say, well, it's real estate related, right? And I follow up with, yes, it is. It's real estate centric. Every business in there has something to do with real estate, but that's not what it's all about all the time. Oftentimes it's personal stuff too. And so I use Jerry as an example about with Victor and the cloves closed down syndrome. And so I really tell them, like, hey, Jerry's brought this up at the mastermind and said, hey, I need help with raising awareness for this. Can you guys help me? And his third quarter presentation from 2017 that's what it was all about. And we jumped on board with it, and the entire group really helped him out with it. So that's great stuff. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But Jerry, do us a favor, introduction, who you are, what you do, and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, my name is Jerry Padilla. I'm a loan officer for prime lending. Been in the industry for about 11 years now, and proud member of the Good Success Mastermind. So happy to be part of that group. Learned a lot from that. Family of three, have three beautiful children, a 2-month-old that is striving and growing every day and starting to move around and looks like she's going to be rolling right here soon. And then my beautiful wife, Jennifer Padilla. So that's a little bit about myself and what I do on a regular basis.
Awesome stuff. All right, Jerry. So let's talk about this. So like we mentioned, you're in the mastermind. Like you mentioned, you're in our mastermind. So what's one of the biggest aha moments? We come away with aha moments. We even give books out at the mastermind for aha moments. So for you, in the full year that you've been with us at the mastermind, what has been the biggest aha for you, the biggest aha moment, which makes you say aha for those of you who don't know, from the mastermind, from the Good Success Mastermind that you came away with?
So I was thinking about that the other day, and the biggest thing that I've come back with is it's okay to be vulnerable and to ask questions and ask for help. I always thought that these masterminds, you had to always be willing to provide information and be ready to give instead of receive help from people. And I've learned that this group is willing and able to help no matter what the circumstances, if it's personal, professionally, or just advice on simple things. Everybody in this group has been a great sounding board for myself and any other member when they need that support. And then another aha moment for me is never forget to continue to educate yourself on a regular basis. So constantly reading, constantly doing research, constantly keeping yourself aware of changes, just because it happens and you got to adapt to it. So my biggest thing that I've learned is I need to continue to read, because the more I read, the more I learn, and the better I become as an individual.
Awesome stuff. So Jerry, what has been one of the biggest contributors for you? You talked about self-educating yourself, and you said books. Maybe a specific book, maybe it's a specific thing that you've done for your self-education.
I mean, there's been quite a few books that I've read that I've learned from other people that gave me a good insight to start looking into and realize that there's a lot out there. So, I mean, I've read a couple of Napoleon Hill's books. What is it? Outwitting the Devil was one of the good books that I read on him. How to influence people to be, How to influence people to build relationships into friends. I can't remember the exact title. I apologize. And one of the books that I'm actually reading right now is our good old Josh Collar, First 25. So this is actually the current book that I'm reading at the moment, and
Great.
It actually has a great amount of insight in it. So, I mean, I am older than you, and I'm learning from you at your age of your experiences. So it's definitely gave me some light on some things that makes you think back of your younger childhood ages and what you could have done differently. So I'm very excited to finish this book here. I'm almost done through it. So just those are a couple of books that I think that have had a good impact on me personally so far. And I'm not at your guys' level yet, but I'm trying to get there where I'm reading 30 to 60 books a year like you guys are.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, so both of the things that Jerry talked about with his biggest ahas was kind of like being open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, just like so many of us think that we have to have this closed book. We only want to show the good about ourselves. We don't really want to like show the pain that we really have. And what we don't realize is that pain that we actually have gives us the greatest amount of power. And being open for new ideas and being open to read and being open to learn more and have more knowledge gives Jerry, in my opinion, a better outlook on life to be able to teach his kids, to be able to pass on a better legacy, to be able to help his clients if he's learning about all the new laws that are coming out, or all the new little nuances that people are working with, all the lending type of transactions that are going on right now. If he didn't learn all those new things, he wouldn't be able to help his clients.
Right.
And at the end of the day, like Good Success, we want to be here to educate, to promote, to encourage, to challenge people to work, to have, to give. And you can't ever have that process happen in your own personal life if you're not willing to go through that pain and face those hard challenges to a certain degree and open up and be like, hey, I need help.
Right.
And if you don't ever think you need help, you're never going to go and read, and you're never going to. So, Jerry, you kind of said that you're not on the same level of us, but I think that's ludicrous, because I believe that these are what you're learning, and what you said was your biggest aha is something we have to do every single day. Because every single day we wake up, and what kind of creeps in? That little bit of pride of life, that little bit of I know it all, that little bit of like I don't need anybody else's help. And we have to push that down. Every day we have to push that down and say, hey, you know what? No, I need to be vulnerable. I need to ask the right questions. Good leaders will ask the right questions and ask better questions. And good leaders will also be willing to be vulnerable and say, hey, I need help. And this is the situation. These are areas I know myself. I need help in these areas. I kind of love this statement and hate this statement because it's from Hillary Clinton, but it says, it takes a village. And I kind of think in a way, like it does take a village because but it really starts with you.
Yeah.
And it's never going to happen unless you're the person that you need to be, and you're that open conduit. You're that person that's willing to accept, but you're not doing it so you can keep. You're doing it so you can help everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And kind of staying on the track here. So one of the things I did mention was that Jerry brought up at the mastermind. He's brought it up a couple of times, but at the third quarter mastermind, really focused on Victor and the cloves that he has. Which is very rare disease, which I'm going to let you talk a lot about it here in just a second. But I think that's very admirable from you, because a lot of times I feel like, so business-wise, when you're in a room like a mastermind, it's kind of easy to be vulnerable with your business, especially if you don't have like competitors in the room. I guess that maybe that's saying the right thing. But I feel like bringing up personal issues and matters is a lot more tender. I mean, how long has it taken Jeremiah and Mo to have this contest, right? I mean, they brought it up a couple times at the mastermind and finally said, well, we're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. And we're going to be vulnerable by one of us is actually going to get up in front of the room and dance in a coconut bra and a grass skirt. So that's ultra vulnerability. So I give them that. But for you talk about Victor. So what are some things that people need to understand about this? And just kind of give us the story about Victor and everything. And then maybe what people can do currently to help with that situation and contribute.
So Victor is my middle child. He's 5 years old now, just turned 5 on the 22nd of this month. And he was born with a syndrome called cloves syndrome. And what cloves syndrome stands for is congenital lipomas, overgrowth, vascular malformations, purple nevus, and spinal and skeleton anomalies. So what it is it's a gene mutation that is mosaic, that has more activity in the gene than normal. So in some cases you have overgrowth of muscle tissue, overgrowth of fat, or undergrowth of muscle tissue and undergrowth of fat. So every child's different. And right now, there's about 500 cases worldwide. But when Victor was diagnosed with when he was 3 months of age, at the time, there's less than 40 people worldwide. So the rareness is still low, because I mean, you're talking 500 people over billions and billions of people throughout the world, that there's not that much awareness with it. So my goal and my wife and I's goal is to try to create the awareness that get people to understand that it's out there, and we're constantly trying to raise money for the community on a regular basis. And right now the community is doing a big push this year to donate to research, because there's been a drug out in Europe that has shown some proven success with his syndrome to reduce the growth of the mutation and also keep it away. So as long as they stay on the drug, they could get rid of the growth and it stays away. So we have, as a community, have been able to donate $30,000 this year so far. And I think they're trying to donate an additional $10,000. My wife and I created a Mighty Cause page this year, and I think by the end of the year we'll be up at $10,000 for our contribution and providing a support to the cloves syndrome group to give that money to go towards donation. But they do more than just donations to research. They also help families that are in need. So I mean, some of the families that are part of this family itself of people are not financially stable. So the group supports those people that are in need of help. So we're lucky enough to be on the other spectrum where we could be donating to the cause instead of requesting from the cause. So I'm proud to be able to be part of that organization as well and try to make a difference in getting people to be aware of Victor syndrome. So, I mean, the biggest thing I could ask of anybody is take a look at the website. It's clovessyndrome.org, and just create awareness by letting people aware of it, because sometimes there is situations where somebody's diagnosed with a different syndrome and they could very well have cloves, and knowing the right diagnosis can make a game changer of life or death for these children or adults.
Can you spell that real quick? It's CLOVES, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Cloves
clovesyndrome.org
.org.
is where you guys can make a donation. So make sure you do that. And one thing that I want to mention here too is because, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was in 6th grade, right? And that's a pretty common thing. Like and they have a lot of awareness around it, whatnot, but they get donations all the time because it's such a big community. There's so many men and women out there that have had breast cancer. But for this specific syndrome, that's tough because it's 500 people that have it. And so the awareness is so low. And you even said when he was born, there was less than 40 people that had it. So raising the awareness starts with, Jerry and the small community that they have of 500 people that have this syndrome worldwide. But then it tears off to us and to you guys. So make sure that you're, aware of this and make sure you do what you can to help impact this whole situation. I appreciate you sharing that, Jerry. Much appreciated for that. So let's get into Prime lending. So and you specifically. So you're a senior loan originator with Prime. So how is Prime able to help and work with real estate investors? How does it relate? Are you what's one of the big key differentiators between you guys and any other lending company?
So as far as the key differentiators between myself and any other lending company, comes down to the knowledge that I put into of researching the investor financing side. Investor financing is a conventional product, and it is available to all lenders, but not all loan officers take the time and effort to understand and research and know the product and how it works and benefit to an investor. So I kind of tell people when I talk to them, just because they have the ability to write a deal doesn't mean that they know how to write a deal, and what to look for to make sure that you don't run into any complications as far as getting the file approved and closed. So my focus for the last 4 years has been nothing but investor financing and learning the ins and outs of that and being able to understand how to calculate income, calculate reserves, calculate the best case scenario for the client as far as which way to handle the financing side of it, either if it's a purchase or refinance.
Well, I think that's part of the maybe key differentiators, but I've worked with Jerry myself, and I've sent a lot of my turnkey buyers to Jerry over the years. And I think something that you probably should talk about a little bit is like you can finance properties in pretty much every state, right?
Yes.
So people can go to one person and say if they got turnkey rental properties they want to buy in Indiana, and they have turnkey properties they want to buy in Michigan, and they have turnkey properties they want to buy in Buffalo, or wherever else they're buying properties from, they can use this one source of lending in this one place, and they can go to get all their deals done. And to me, I think that's a pretty good. To me, that's a big deal for a lot of the buyers, because what they don't want is they don't want to send their files to 3 different people, over the course of 2 or 3 years. They want to just work with one person, know that one person's system, and get deals done. So I would probably add that to working with Jerry. And, he's been great for a lot of our clients. The other thing, honestly, and this is just from my experience, is their fees are a little bit cheaper than what the average, fee schedule is for investment properties. And as an investor, like, you might think it's only $400 or $500, but at the end of the day, your cash on cash return, your ROI, makes a big difference if you're getting financing. So every little bit counts, and they do a really good job with that. How's your processes coming? It seems like that's kind of one of the things in the mastermind you've been trying to improve, and I always felt like it was always pretty good, but I mean, there's always room for improvement.
I'm starting to get better productivity with my processes and starting to see quicker turnaround times for my clients. So the things that I've learned within the mastermind and being able to learn to let go of things that I don't need to control, because one of my biggest things is I was a control freak. I still take control of things, but I am learning to let go and let the parties that have the capability of handling it. So I'm seeing a downward spiral in the turn times from beginning to end. So in this business, that's the key thing, is you want it to be as short as time as possible versus a longer time. So right. I have seen my numbers as far as the average time from beginning to end reduce since the beginning of this year.
Gotcha.
Yes. One more thing that he mentioned, I want to expand on a little bit, is that he knows how to get the deals done. So like that's a whole nother thing. And I can promise you, I've worked with lots of different buyers that couldn't get deals done. And a lot of it had to do with their lender. A lot of them, they don't know how to get houses appraised. We've had a lot of issues with appraisals over the years, and everybody who owns rentals has. But Jerry has been able to help us get through those things. And how do we actually go back and get a new appraisal? How do we go back and actually question the appraisal? And Jerry's team does a really good job with that too. So, and I actually talked to a guy last night, and he kind of acted like he was the only person in the world that knew how to do that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of people that do know how to do it, but a lot of people really don't. They don't know how to get houses appraised for the right amount of money, and they don't know how to use the rents. They don't know how to use all the different ways that you can work with financing. And having somebody on your team that can really help you through that process and that knows all those pitfalls and knows how to be able to challenge things like that is somebody that you want on your team. So I highly recommend, Jerry and other people that we work with in our network.
Yeah, definitely. So then along the same lines, what are some strategies for an investor finance strategies that investors may not take advantage of or may not even know about that you've experienced?
So it's a couple of things that I've learned, and actually the Good Success team has utilized these strategies for investors, giving the option to handle it this way or not. Is evaluating the deal to determine is it makes sense to use the financing as a purchase or to buy the property cash and then do a cash out refinance immediately. So depending on the value of the property from when you're purchasing it will determine on which is the best route to go. So if you're buying a turnkey property where you're at the market value of the property, then it's best to purchase it with financing. It doesn't make sense to purchase it with cash and then turn around and cash it out, because then you're losing some money out of your pocket to be able to do that deal. But if you're purchasing a house that's below market or wholesale property and you're willing to put the cash up front for the renovations, those are the scenarios where it makes sense to buy it cash out, refinance it, and then move on to the next property. But the key difference with that aspect of it is making sure that you're working with the right team in order for that to get accomplished. Just because if you don't have those renovations included into that HUD, then you're not going to be able to recoup those costs. So that money is just going to sit there dead unless you wanted to wait 6 months to refinance it. And the key for investor financing is trying to flip that money as quick as possible. I mean, the idea is buy it, renovate it, refinance it, do it all over again. As they call it,
That's
the BRRRR
exactly
method.
what it is. It's our active turnkey whole method is kind of what he's talking about. But there's a couple key things that he said there was, if you want to refinance it right away and not wait 6 months, you have to actually roll all that into the title work, onto the HUD statement, and make sure that it's all included when they purchase the property. So all the money from the investor has to go to the title company. The purchase plus repairs has to go to the title company up front. And if they do it that way, then they can immediately refinance, or basically as soon as the rehab is complete, if there's rehab that needs to be done.
And even you could start the refinance process immediately. So the day of closing, you could start your refinance process. We get everything going, and then the moment that we know that the rehab is completed, that's when we send out the appraiser.
Right.
And then we communicate to the appraiser, making him well aware of what was completed, so that he knows that this was just recently done. Because appraisers base their opinion off of what improvements have been done after the purchase.
Right.
So if they're aware that these renovations were just recently done, they're going to put that into their notes and making sure that when they're looking for those comparables, let me rephrase that. When they're using the comparables that they've already found, they're going to redo the weight of the comparables based off of the quality of the product. Because most appraisers already have a range of comps before they even go to the property. So a good appraiser knows, all right, here's my comps that I have, and it's going to be these 15 different comps. Of these 15 different comps, which one am I going to use once I inspect this property? So that's one thing I've learned, is that if it's a good appraiser, he already has those comps before he even walks a foot into that door. and it depends on how that property comes out will determine his value.
I liked how he used the word "if" he's a good appraiser.
If he's a good appraiser, yeah. I was actually about to ask
because there are some that aren't so good, right?
Right.
Just like there's some lenders that are not.
So then, how do you deal with that when you have an appraiser that may not be good, or maybe they don't have the right comps? And Tommy even mentioned it a little bit earlier. What are some things that you've done to combat that?
So things that I've done is I'll lean back onto the buyer or the borrower in those cases to say, okay, I need you to help me find some additional comps that would support a higher value. If I notice that there wasn't any improvement shown on the appraisal, I would address that and making sure that we're getting that acknowledged within the appraisal. But that is something that I do constantly remind the buyer or borrower to make sure you communicate X, Y, and Z has been done to this property, so that they're well aware of it before they walk foot in this door. And trying to get that information to them as quick as possible, so that way they know and they have this mindset that this property has been renovated, so that they're not going into that property thinking that these renovations were already done to the property. And so when you have a mindset of you walk into this property, it's renovated, and you don't know that the buyer did it, you're thinking that he just bought this and expecting instant equity into the property. And if that doesn't work, and I could point out that it's a bad appraisal, then I'll go to management after the dispute and seeing if they'll be willing to authorize a second appraisal.
Hey guys, we're going to take a quick break from the podcast and say a huge thank you to our sponsor, Jerry Padilla, a senior loan originator with Prime Lending. And whether you're a first-time homebuyer or you're well-versed in the process, buying or refinancing a home can be an exciting and rewarding experience with Prime Lending. Serving you in every state, they take the time to listen, and they'll work with you to find a home loan that fits your needs. With the mortgage refinancing, lower your interest rate, lower your monthly payments, shorten your term, or get the cash for whatever you need. Prime Lending also has several options for renovation loans so that you can find what works best for you in your home project. Make sure to contact our good friend and Good Success Mastermind member, Jerry Padilla, who is a senior loan originator with Prime Lending and has over 11 years of experience in the mortgage industry. You can learn more about Prime Lending and what they have to offer by contacting Jerry Padilla at goodsuccess.com/prime lending. So make sure you take advantage of that to learn more about them. Now, without further ado, let's get back to the show. Okay. Well, what are some things, I don't know, maybe this is a dumb question. Tom always tells me, if we ever talk about a topic that I don't know, those are always the best questions.
Yeah.
So for me, when
Feel
it
free
comes
to be
to
stupid,
that,
Josh.
I'm going to be stupid right here on the show. What are some things that an investor can do on the upfront part before the appraisal that maybe they can combat that whole scenario?
So providing a detailed list of renovations and cost to give to the appraiser upfront.
Okay. So you're going to give that list to the appraiser, not to you.
To the appraiser.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, most of the investors I'm working with are out-of-state investors. So it's having communication with their property manager to ensure that that information is provided to the appraiser up front at the moment, either at point of contact or at the moment that he's coming into it. But having that conversation in the beginning is key factor with the appraiser. So when the appraiser knows that you've done these improvements to it, they're going to have the mindset that they've improved this property. It's not something that they just bought and they're trying to refinance it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, totally makes sense. So then with your experience, kind of transitioning a little bit, with your experience with your investment portfolio, what are some things that you've learned that people should or should not do more of, do less of? Just some tips and tricks when it comes to that.
So before my wife and I had kids, we used to invest in properties, and this was before I was as knowledgeable as I am today. My wife was out researching a property and got all hyped about it because it was extremely low, below market, at least $70,000 below market. And she's like, "This is a steal. We have to get it. And if we don't make an offer on it today, he's gonna go to the next bidder." So I'm like, I'm at work. I couldn't go to it, and I couldn't leave because I was dealing with a closing that I had to attend to. So I said, all right, if you make the decision, if you feel that this is a good deal, let's move forward with it. And long and story short, it wasn't a good deal. And that $70,000 in equity that it did have was put into it, because that's how much renovations that we had to put into the property. So making sure you do your due diligence up front, and if you don't have an expert with you at the time of viewing that property, or having the right person viewing that property for you, and allowing a seller to create desperation in yourself, is the worst thing that you could do. Just because the equity that we thought he had in it went directly into it out of our pocket. So, long and story short, we didn't get it for below market. We got it at market. The only saving grace in that scenario is that we got it rented out within 30 days of purchasing it, and the tenants were willing to live in an environment where they're getting renovations done as they're living there. So that was the only saving grace, is that we were able to maintain a tenant throughout the whole process of renovating the property. Obviously, it was tough on them, because living in a construction zone for almost a year was difficult. Just because when you have somebody living there, it makes it harder to be able to knock it out quickly. So that was the biggest thing that I learned, is don't just jump into any situation. Don't believe what a seller tells you, that if you don't make an offer today, somebody else is going to buy it. If somebody threatens that to you, then there's a reason for that. And why is that reason? And we didn't question that. And we learned the hard way that the reason why is because he was hiding everything that was wrong with the property and wanted to get it sold. And the moment he got it sold, his liability of it was gone, because he had put that pressure on to my wife, and he took advantage of the situation. So we've known now, and since then we were able to walk away from probably about 10 deals because of those same circumstances. We did our due diligence, and it didn't make sense. So therefore we walked away from it, because that was our property that gave us the knowledge that we wish we would have had to be able to utilize before going in and making that decision. So everybody's going to make mistakes on their investments. Some people learn from other people's mistakes, but we had to learn from our own. So
yeah, sometimes it's not the deals that you do that makes you successful. It's the deals that you don't do that actually make you successful. But I think there's a lot of lessons there learned. And I love that, because part of what he learned was that if he had the long-term play mindset, and that renter is going to pay his rent and pay the mortgage down, if he had a leveraged, or whatever it is, like the long-term gain, can actually smooth over a lot of those mistakes that you can make. If that was a wholesale deal, if that was a fix and flip, that would have been a disaster for you. Yeah. But that long-term mindset of this is going to be a rental long-term can really be very forgiving over time.
And you're absolutely right, because we still own that property till this day, and it still has, ironically, the same tenant since we rented it.
Wow.
So
yeah, I mean, seriously, I talked to some people a couple weeks ago, and they're like, why would I ever sell a house? They have thousands of units around the world, seriously, like in Europe and United States, everywhere. And they're like, why would I ever sell a property? Like to me, like it doesn't make sense to them at all why they would ever sell. So it's kind of a different mindset, a long-term mindset for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So due diligence is the biggest thing that you came away with on that.
Absolutely.
So definitely, and that's for deals as well, but almost anything else. I mean, do your due diligence if you guys are going to choose to go with Jerry and Prime Lending. So, just make sure you do that in anything that you do. And that's highly important.
Honestly, Jerry was a referral from somebody else. So somebody else referred me to Jerry, and then now we referred tons of customers to Jerry, and that's just kind of goes back to the first statement. Relationships are very important.
Absolutely.
In real estate.
Awesome stuff. So, Jerry, we are going to have to wrap this up. But we got two final questions that we're going to ask you. It's been a great interview. Appreciate you jumping on, taking time to be on the show with us today. So, two things that we end every show with. We ask every single interviewee. Excited to hear what you have to say. So Good Success, you've known Tom for a little bit while than you've been in the actual mastermind, but you know our group, you've known us for a year, what we're all about and everything. So maybe not the specific group of people, but the term Good Success. What does that mean to you? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear that term Good Success?
So what I've learned that what good success means to me today versus what it meant to me in the past is, how could I educate and teach other people to be successful, in turn gives me success. because the more education I could provide to people, it turns around and gives me a tenfold versus me trying to sell somebody. So I've learned that providing education is more of a key factor than trying to sell somebody on a product. So the more education that I can provide is going to give me a longer return in the long run versus me trying to sell somebody. And there's been times where I've given my education for free and they've gone to other lenders, but at least I know that they have the right information and they know the right questions to ask, and they're able to make sure that they're not getting messed around by a other lender that doesn't know what they're doing. So it gives them the ability to get those keynote questions asked to the lender so that they have the right education to make the informed decision to be able to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. That's tough to do too. When you give and give and give, and then they don't become a customer of yours, they go to your competitor or somebody else. That's tough to do. But I think that speaks high volumes.
What he's realizing is that even though they didn't use him, he still had influence.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that influence is so much more important, because I think down the road that always comes back to one way or another.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so you got to leave our audience with one thing, whether it's a quote, piece of advice, a thought, a book you've read, doesn't matter. One thing that you got to leave the audience with, what would that be?
So I know that that's one of your guys' things. So ironically, our CEO of our company sends out emails on a daily basis and talks about different quotes. And the quote of today was change. So you know it's coming, be prepared for it, adapt to it, accept it. My advice is to get ahead of it. Being a champion for change, all the way you do, the way you do it all is with a positive attitude. So having a positive attitude with change is the only way that's going to make change possible. So that was a quote from our CEO, Alan White, and it couldn't have been better said in the time of the year that we're at right now, because 2019 is around the corner, and with the new year, there's new changes.
Absolutely. I love that.
It's inevitable. Change is going to happen.
Change is going to happen no matter what. And sometimes there's good change, sometimes there's bad change, but if you have the positive mindset, like what you had mentioned, that's a better way of approaching that.
There's always opportunity.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think that mindset that I always have of there's always an opportunity in the change, and change is an opportunity to get better, is kind of like what helps you think positively about change.
Yeah, love that. Awesome stuff. Well, Jerry, thank you for sharing those thoughts with us.
Awesome.
And thank you for being on the show today. We much appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much, Jerry.
If somebody wanted to contact you, somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that? You got an email address, website, phone number, something like that, where people can reach out to you?
They can reach out to me via email at jerry.padilla@primelending.com, or they could contact me on my cell phone directly at 585-204-6923.
Awesome. Look at that.
Great stuff.
Guy, salesman giving out a cell phone number.
And
honestly, I have to give an extra plug for Jerry here. I know I kind of plugged him in this already, and this podcast isn't about plugging people. It's really not, but we've worked with Jerry, and a lot of our investors have worked with Jerry, and he's always been great to work with, great humble person to work with, and always is there for his customers. So if you're looking for a lender, and honestly, 50 states, right? All 50 states?
Yeah.
So really anywhere in the United States, if you're looking for a lender to do rental properties with, I highly recommend you guys contact Jerry.
Yeah, can't beat that. 50 states. That's you don't have an excuse. It's everywhere. It is
everywhere. So
yeah, absolutely. So Jerry, again, thank you for being on the show. We look forward to having you back soon. And we're recording this podcast in December, but it's going to be going out in late January. But we look forward to seeing you in February at the Dallas Mastermind. So we'll see you there.
Awesome. Thank you guys, and I appreciate you guys having me on today.
All right, great stuff.
Thanks,
so that is going to do it for today's episode. We appreciate you jumping on and joining us on the Good Success Podcast. If you guys like this podcast, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't already, we're on all the podcast platforms. Just search Good Success and you will find us there. And if you could do us a favor and go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review, a 5-star review would be amazing. Let us know what you think of this show, and we would love to hear your thoughts. And then the Good Success Mastermind, which Jerry is a part of, and we're looking, like I mentioned, we're looking forward to see him in February in Dallas. You can learn more about that at goodsuccess.com/mastermind. Fill out the application there, and you will talk with either myself or Tom on the phone, and we'll vet you through the phone and our core values: community, stewardship, growth, and charity. And then we will go from there. And then the Community Go Giver event coming up, man. I'm excited about this. More details to come out soon. We talked a little bit about it at the beginning of the episode, but you guys be on the lookout. Early bird price tickets are going away very soon, so make sure you take advantage of that. Early bird price tickets, save a couple of $100. Go to communitygogiver.com to learn more about it and to sign up there. That's going to do it for today's episode. We appreciate you jumping on and joining us. And remember to be a conduit, not a bucket.
Work to have to give.
Catch you guys on the next one.